the broadcast that awoke humanity's darkest wrath. Recording date Galactic Standard Year 4891, Day 276. Listen closely, young ones, for this is a tale of the greatest military blunder in Confederation history. I am Admiral Klyxen of the former Galactic Confederation fleet, and my words serve as both confession and warning to future generations. Primitives with nuclear weapons, how quaint those were the exact words of High Council leader Pyrax when we first detected Earth's broadcasting signals. Oh, how we laughed in our gleaming ships, watching their crude satellites orbit their single, polluted world. Our mighty civilization spanned 3,000 star systems, while these humans had barely touched their own moon. Our observation posts reported their petty conflicts, their divided nations, their wasteful consumption of resources. Every report reinforced our superiority. Every analysis confirmed our advancement. Standard protocol demanded 50 years of observation before contact, but Pyrax, in his infinite wisdom, decided 20 was sufficient. They show remarkable progress for primitives, he declared during the council meeting. We shall guide them into the galactic community. I remember standing on the bridge of the Stellar Vanguard, preparing for our grand revelation to humanity. Our ships positioned themselves above their major cities: New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai. The formation was perfect, our hulls shimmering with prismatic energy that would dazzle these simple beings. Admiral Klyxen Lieutenant Zena approached my command station, her sensor stalks twitching nervously. The humans' military installations are showing unusual activity patterns. I dismissed her concerns with a wave of my primary appendage. Expected behavior for a primitive species encountering superior beings. Maintain formation. The first sign that something was wrong came when their orbital defense platforms, previously hidden from our scans, activated simultaneously. Our arrogance had led us to believe their satellites were mere communication devices. We were wrong. Sir Zena's voice carried an edge of panic. Multiple launches detected from their polar regions. Before I could respond, brilliant streaks of light erupted from Earth's surface. Their missiles, far more advanced than our intelligence suggested, screamed toward our fleet. The humans, these supposedly primitive humans, had masked their true capabilities behind a veneer of technological inferiority. Pyrax's response? Amusing display of resistance. Proceed with the intimidation protocol. Those words would haunt our civilization for generations to come. We activated our ship's energy shields, expecting their primitive weapons to harmlessly dissipate. Instead, the missiles split apart mid-flight, releasing clouds of particles that somehow penetrated our defensive fields. Within moments, half our display fleet lost power. Impossible, I remember shouting as systems across my ship began failing. Their technology is decades behind ours. Zena, ever observant, accessed their public information networks even as chaos erupted around us. Sir, they have thousands of virtual simulations about alien invasions. They've been preparing for this possibility for over a century. The humans' response was not the panicked flailing of a primitive species. It was the carefully coordinated defense of a paranoid civilization that had spent generations imagining and planning for this exact scenario. Our grand revelation had triggered contingency plans they had refined through countless books, movies, and war games. As I ordered our surviving ships to retreat, Pyrax's final transmission echoed through our command network: this minor setback will not stand. Prepare the invasion fleet. Oh, what fools we were. What arrogant, blind fools. We had ignored their entertainment broadcasts as primitive fiction, failing to recognize them as battle strategies hidden in plain sight. We had dismissed their divided nature as weakness, not understanding it was the source of their adaptability. This was only the beginning of our mistakes, but it was the moment that sealed our fate. We had not come in peace, not really. We had come to demonstrate our superiority, to show these primitives their place in the galaxy. Instead, we showed them our weaknesses and awakened their darkest fears. Little did we know that humans had been rehearsing this moment through their stories for generations. They were not surprised by our arrival. They were prepared for it. And in violating our own first contact protocols, we had confirmed their worst suspicions about alien life. The real horror was yet to come. You would think our initial failure would have inspired caution. But no. The Confederation leadership, in their boundless arrogance, decided to make the single most catastrophic decision in our history. These humans must learn their place, Pyrax announced during the emergency council session. We will broadcast our intentions across all their communication channels. Let them tremble before our might. I watched in horror as he overrode every objection. Lieutenant Zena presented detailed analyses of human warfare tactics throughout their history. The council laughed. General Actrix warned about their remarkable ability to unite against common threats. The council dismissed it. Professor Yalai begged them to consider the psychological implications of their planned broadcast. The council ignored her too. And so, on what humans call July 4th, their Independence Day, we hijacked their global communications. Pyrax's massive hologram appeared in their skies, his tentacles writhing with practiced menace as he delivered his message. Humans of Earth, his voice boomed across their airwaves. Your resistance to our benevolent arrival has sealed your fate. In exactly 7 Earth days, our armada will arrive to begin your systematic extermination. Your cities will burn. Your oceans will boil. Your species will be erased from galactic memory. This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is your destiny. The council chamber erupted in celebration. See how they panicked. Council member Brakex gloated, watching the initial chaos unfold on Earth. Their stock markets are crashing. Their governments are scrambling. I stood at my observation post, watching something very different unfold. Yes, there was panic, but it lasted precisely 6 hours. Then something unprecedented happened. Every human nation, every competing ideology, every opposing faction went silent simultaneously. Their usual constant stream of digital communications ceased. Their satellites repositioned. Their power grids shifted. Sir Zena's voice shook as she reported. They are launching something toward Mars. The council ignored her, too busy planning the invasion. We had positioned our main fleet behind Mars, using the planet for cover. A prudent tactical decision, or so we thought. The humans couldn't possibly have weapons that could reach that far with any real power. The object approaching Mars looked like a simple satellite. Our sensors dismissed it as space debris, right until it split into 10,000 autonomous drones. Each drone carried a payload that our scientists had deemed theoretically impossible: miniaturized antimatter warheads. The entire Martian defense fleet vanished in an artificial sunrise. Impossible, Pyrax screamed, his skin turning pale green with rage. Launch the attack immediately. Show these primitives real power. Our remaining ships surged forward, weapons primed. We expected to face their primitive nuclear arsenals. Instead, we met something far worse. The humans had turned their entire orbital infrastructure into a weapon. Satellites became kinetic bombs. Space stations transformed into missile platforms. Even their primitive space telescopes concealed electromagnetic pulse generators. But the true horror was what awaited our ground forces. As our dropships descended toward their major cities, we found them empty. 7 billion humans had vanished underground in less than a day. Their surface structures, which we had assumed were their civilization's foundation, were just a shell. A trap. Where are the humans? Our ground commanders reported in panic. There should be resistance. There should be military forces. Then the ground began to move. Entire city blocks revealed themselves as massive trapdoors. Underground bunkers that had waited decades for this moment opened their maws. The humans emerged in powered armor suits that matched our own technology. Their weapons, hidden for years in plain sight, rivaled our most advanced infantry gear. Sir Zena's voice cut through the chaos of battle reports. I found something in their entertainment archives. They call it The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Listen to this: appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. I felt a chill run through my primary nervous system as I watched the humans' true military might emerge. They had spent generations preparing for this moment, hiding their real weapons behind a facade of primitive technology. Our broadcast hadn't inspired terror, it had given them exactly what they needed: a timeline and a reason to unite. As our forces retreated from the third failed landing attempt, I received a transmission from their newly formed United Earth Defense Command. The message was simple, delivered by a stone-faced human leader. Thank you for the warning. We've been waiting for someone like you. Now it's our turn. Looking back, I realize our gravest error wasn't underestimating their technology. It was underestimating their capacity for preparation, their ability to unite, and most importantly, their hunger for survival. We had given them 7 days to prepare. They had actually been preparing for 70 years. The first transmission we received from Commander Andrea Blackwood made every member of our war council freeze in terror. Not because of her words, but because of her laughter. Greetings. Confederation forces. Her hologram materialized in our command center, wearing what we would later learn was a predatory smile. I must thank you for the most wonderful gift. Do you know how hard it is to convince 200 nations to work together? You managed it in 6 hours. Congratulations. Pyrax attempted to dismiss the transmission. A futile gesture, as her signal had somehow penetrated our most sophisticated encryption. She continued speaking, each word dripping with amusement. Now, let me introduce myself properly. Commander Andrea Blackwood, former head of the United Nations Secret Space Program, current Supreme Commander of Earth's Combined Defense Forces. That little show at Mars, that was just our way of saying hello. The casual way she referenced the annihilation of our Martian fleet sent shivers through my secondary spine. Our tactical displays suddenly came alive with thousands of new signatures emerging from what we had dismissed as asteroid clusters throughout the solar system. You see, Blackwood continued, pacing in her holographic form, we knew someone would come eventually, maybe with good intentions. Maybe not. So we planned for the worst while showing the bare minimum of our capabilities. Those crude rockets you monitored, decoys. Those primitive satellites, sensor nets. That polluted atmosphere, a shield of nanomachines disguised as industrial waste. Lieutenant Zena's sensor stalks coiled in distress as she reported, "Sir, we're detecting advanced weapon signatures from locations throughout their asteroid belt. They've built an entire defense network disguised as natural phenomena." But wait. Blackwood's grin widened. There's more. You know those silly space movies we broadcast? The ones your intelligence dismissed as primitive entertainment? They were battlefield simulations, tested and refined by millions of viewers. Every alien invasion scenario humanity could imagine. Crowdsourced and analyzed for weaknesses. The main tactical display exploded with alerts as human vessels emerged from concealment. Their ships, unlike our sleek crystalline designs, resembled angular predators. Blackwood's flagship, designated as the TIS Humanity's Vengeance, led a formation that our computers refused to classify. Their technology followed no known development pattern. Your ships are beautiful, Blackwood commented, studying our fleet's formation. Elegant, perfect, and that's your weakness. You stopped innovating. You became predictable. Humanity, we never stopped fighting, never stopped improving. Every war, every conflict taught us something new. Now let us share those lessons. The human counterattack defied every strategic doctrine in our database. Their ships ignored conventional attack vectors, using what appeared to be controlled quantum tunneling to bypass our defensive screens. Weapons we had never imagined possible tore through our supposedly impenetrable hulls. Admiral Klyxen Zena's voice carried an unfamiliar emotion, awe. Their targeting systems are predicting our evasion patterns with 99.9% accuracy. They've been studying our movements since first contact. The battle for the Mars defense line lasted exactly 47 minutes. Not because the humans needed that long to defeat us, but because, as Blackwood later explained, they wanted to test different combat strategies against our technology. Fascinating design, your shield generators, she commented as another Confederation dreadnought imploded. We've theorized about their weaknesses for decades. Nice to finally confirm our hypotheses. Our retreat turned into a rout. Ships that had survived millennia of conflict disintegrated under human weapons. Battle computers that had calculated millions of victories crashed trying to predict human attack patterns. The worst part, they were enjoying themselves. You really should have checked what games our children play. Blackwood's voice carried notes of genuine pity. Their simulation accuracy would have warned you. The average 10-year-old human gamer could predict your tactics better than your strategic AAs. Our remaining forces regrouped at Proxima Centauri, expecting the humans to need months to consolidate their gains. We were wrong. They appeared within hours, their ships now incorporating technology they had scavenged from our wrecks. Remarkable engineering. Blackwood's transmission reached us again. We've already reverse-engineered your faster-than-light drives. Made some improvements, too. Would you like to see? The human fleet had doubled in size. Each vessel sported modifications that our engineers declared theoretically impossible. They had taken our technology and altered it in ways that violated what we thought were universal constants. Sir Zena's report carried a note of horrified fascination. They're not just copying our technology. They're improving it, combining it with their own innovations. Each engagement makes them stronger. Pyrax finally broke his stunned silence. What are you? Blackwood's answer haunts me to this day. We are humanity. We spent our entire history preparing for this moment. Every war, every conflict, every game, every story about aliens. It was all preparation. You thought you were facing primitives? No. You're facing a species that turned preparation for this exact scenario into an art form. And now, thanks to your generous donation of advanced technology, we're ready to show you exactly what humanity can do when pushed too far. The battle that followed demonstrated just how badly we had underestimated human potential. They didn't just defeat us, they systematically dismantled every advantage we thought we possessed. Each engagement revealed new human innovations, new combinations of technologies that we had never imagined possible. As I watched another wave of impossible human ships tear through our formations, I finally understood our true mistake. We had judged humanity by their apparent technological level, never considering that they might have deliberately hidden their true capabilities. We had dismissed their endless tales of alien invasion as primitive fiction, not recognizing them as the combat exercises they really were. Commander Blackwood's final transmission of the battle simply added insult to injury. Don't worry, Admiral Klyxen. We're not going to exterminate you. We're going to educate you. Lesson 1 begins now. Have you ever watched a predator realize it has become prey? That moment of clarity when it understands its place in the food chain has shifted. That's what happened when Admiral Marcus Stone unleashed the contents of humanity's military archives across our information networks. Your species needs a history lesson. Stone's transmission cut through our emergency broadcasts. His weathered face and battle-scarred uniform spoke of countless conflicts. You thought our entertainment broadcasts were fiction? Let me show you reality. The data flood that followed shattered our understanding of human nature. Thousands of years of warfare, endless cycles of conflict and innovation, all compressed into a strategic analysis that our war computers struggled to process. Sir Zena reported, her voice trembling. These records. The humans have fought more wars among themselves in a century than our entire civilization has in a millennium. Their weapons, their tactics, they evolve at an impossible rate. The archives showed humans fighting in every conceivable environment. Desert warfare where soldiers battled not just enemies but the elements themselves. Naval combat that turned entire oceans into battlefields. Urban conflicts where every window could hide a sniper, every doorway a trap. Fascinating, isn't it? Stone's voice carried genuine professional interest. Every environment, every situation we've fought there. While you perfected one way of war, we mastered them all. Guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, economic combat, even meme warfare. Yes, we weaponized jokes. Our military analysts went into shock studying human combat footage. Their thermal adaptation allowed them to fight in temperature ranges that would kill most species. Their endurance let them march distances that would exhaust our strongest warriors. Even their rest patterns terrified us. Humans could fight while half their brains slept. But here's the truly terrifying part, Stone continued, clearly enjoying our growing horror. Everything you've seen, those were humans fighting humans. Imagine what we can do when united against an external threat. Actually, you don't have to imagine, you're experiencing it. The psychological impact on our forces was devastating. Entire battle groups surrendered after watching footage of human siege warfare. The concepts of scorched earth and mutual assured destruction sent waves of panic through our ranks. These creatures had repeatedly brought themselves to the brink of extinction, learned from it, and come back stronger. Your soldiers are deserting, Admiral Klyxen. Stone observed casually. They're beginning to understand what they're really facing. You see, humans don't just fight wars. We study them, analyze them, turn them into science. Lieutenant Zena's research team discovered something even more disturbing in the archives. Humans had specific military protocols for scenarios we hadn't even imagined. Time travel warfare, dimensional breach containment, even combat doctrines for fighting digital entities in virtual space. Those weren't hypothetical scenarios, Stone explained, answering our unasked questions. We developed those protocols because someone, somewhere, thought they might be necessary. Paranoid? Perhaps. But look where it got us. The fear spread beyond our military. Civilian populations across the Confederation began demanding their governments sue for peace. The humans hadn't just defeated our forces, they had broken our civilization's confidence in its own superiority. "We found your speculation about our nuclear weapons amusing," Stone commented during one transmission. "Did you really think we kept them just to fight each other? They were our first line of defense against alien invasion. Every missile silo was a test run for defending Earth. Every nuclear submarine captain trained for the day they might need to avenge humanity." Our xenopsychologists finally cracked under the strain of analyzing human warfare patterns. One of them transmitted a single message before requesting permanent retirement. "They don't think like us. They never have. Every human is a potential soldier. Every civilian technology can become a weapon. They don't draw lines between peaceful and military development. Everything serves both purposes." "Your mistake," Stone explained with almost grandfatherly patience, "was thinking we would fight like you, predictably, honorably. But humans learned long ago that the only honor in warfare is survival. Everything else is just theater." The final revelation came when we discovered their contingency plans. If we had somehow won, if we had actually threatened Earth with destruction, the humans had prepared a final surprise. They called it the Samson Protocol, a network of devices that would have torn apart the fabric of space-time itself. Yes, Stone confirmed when we discovered the truth. We were ready to take the galaxy with us if we fell. Not out of spite, but to ensure that no other species would ever threaten Earth again. The ultimate deterrent. Watching our mighty civilization crumble in the face of humanity's revealed nature, I finally understood the true depth of our mistake. We had thought ourselves the apex predators of the galaxy, but we were more like carefully bred garden creatures. We had evolved in the safety of our technological superiority. Humans had evolved in an endless crucible of conflict. "Don't worry too much." Admiral Stone's final message carried a note of genuine reassurance. "We're not the monsters you now think we are. We're something far more dangerous. We're survivors. And now, thanks to you, we're survivors with access to interstellar travel. Sleep well with that knowledge." The day we met Dr. Samantha Nash marked the beginning of the end for the Confederation. While Commander Blackwood had shown us humanity's martial prowess and Admiral Stone their tactical genius, Nash revealed their true mastery of biological warfare. "Fascinating immune systems," you have her first transmission began, her tone carrying the detached interest of a scientist observing lab specimens. "Did you know we mapped your entire biological makeup within hours of first contact? Your bodies are remarkably similar across species, almost like they were designed that way." The implications hit our biowarfare division first. They had been so proud of their adaptive viral agents, their supposedly unstoppable plagues. Now they stared at their screens in mute horror as Nash systematically listed the weaknesses in their supposedly perfect designs. "Your bioweapons are cute," she continued, adjusting her glasses while reviewing data streams. "Very elegant, very precise. But that's the problem. You designed them to be perfect. Nature isn't perfect. Nature is messy, adaptive, ruthless. Let me show you what I mean." The human counter-offensive began with something so subtle we didn't notice it for days. Our troops started getting tired. Nothing serious at first, just a slight drop in performance, a minor increase in rest periods. By the time we identified the cause, it was too late. "Programmed fatigue virus," Nash explained, as if teaching a particularly slow student. "Designed to target the shared elements of your biology. No fatal effects, no dramatic symptoms, just an increasing need to sleep. Tell me, how do you fight a war when your entire army needs a nap?" The Confederation military structure began to crack. Different species blamed each other for the spreading exhaustion. Quarantine protocols shattered unit cohesion. Nash watched it all with the calm interest of someone observing a long-running experiment. "You really should have studied our medical databases more carefully," she noted. "Humans have been fighting diseases our entire existence. We've mapped every possible variation of biological warfare because we had to. Our own bodies tried to kill us countless times. We survived. We adapted. We learned." Then came the second phase. Our ship's biological recycling systems began producing nutrients that made everyone irritable. The effect was subtle but devastating. Arguments erupted over minor issues. Strategic planning sessions devolved into shouting matches. The Confederation's unity, our greatest strength, began to dissolve. "Social disruption through biochemical manipulation," Nash explained, taking notes. "A technique we perfected centuries ago. Your ship's life support systems are remarkably vulnerable to subtle reprogramming. Did you really think those early hacking attempts were our best effort?" Lieutenant Zena's reports became increasingly alarming, "Sir. The Proxian fleet is accusing the Centaurians of sabotage. The Rigelian forces have quarantined themselves. 3 minor species have already surrendered to human forces, claiming biological persecution by the major powers. Our attempts to counter Nash's weapons proved futile. Every antidote we developed was countered before we could deploy it. Every security patch for our ship systems was obsolete before implementation." She hadn't just anticipated our responses, she had planned for them. "Your problem," Nash observed during one particularly frustrating defense attempt, "is that you see biology as a weapon. We see it as an ecosystem. Every countermeasure you develop exists in isolation. Ours evolve, adapt, work together, like nature intended." The killing blow came disguised as a cure. One of our own scientists, desperate to end the spreading biological chaos, developed what he thought was a universal antidote. Nash let us distribute it to our entire military. "Interesting solution," she commented as our forces eagerly embraced the treatment. "Elegant approach. Fatal flaw. You really should have tested it against more than one type of synthetic virus." The antidote worked perfectly against her initial weapons. It did nothing against the secondary agents hidden within our own treatment protocol. Within days, our mighty military force was reduced to a scattered collection of quarantined units, each suspecting the others of deliberate contamination. "Don't worry," Nash assured us, reviewing the collapse of our forces with professional satisfaction. "None of these agents are lethal. That would be uncivilized. They're simply convincing, a demonstration of possibilities." The Confederation Council, in their final meeting before dissolving, received a detailed report of everything Nash could have done but chose not to. The list triggered 7 different species to declare immediate, unconditional surrender. "You attacked Earth thinking we were primitive." Nash's final transmission carried the weight of scientific certainty. "You never considered that our apparent technological lag might be due to focusing our efforts elsewhere, like understanding the fundamental mechanisms of life itself." Watching our mighty civilization crumble from within, I finally understood humanity's true advantage. While we had built our society on technological superiority, they had built theirs on understanding the fundamentals of existence itself. Their weapons weren't just tools, they were expressions of deep universal knowledge. "The best part," Nash added as our quarantined forces watched human ships calmly taking control of our space. "Everything we used against you, modified versions of treatments we developed to heal ourselves. Your defeat came from our medicine, not our weapons." The internal conflicts that emerged destroyed what little remained of our military cohesion. Minor species, seeing their chance for independence, declared autonomy. Major powers, weakened by Nash's biological warfare, could no longer maintain control. Our mighty Confederation, which had stood united for 10,000 years, collapsed in less than a month. Not from human weapons, not from their superior tactics, but from the subtle manipulation of our own biology. They had turned our bodies against us without firing a single fatal shot. "Consider this a vaccination," Nash's words marked the end of the Confederation as we knew it. A small, controlled exposure to prevent something much worse. Next time, try talking first. The terms of surrender were delivered by all 3 of them together: Commander Blackwood, Admiral Stone, and Dr. Nash. Not in a grand council chamber, but in a simple conference room aboard their flagship. The greatest military defeat in galactic history was concluded over what humans called coffee. "Your surrender terms are simple," Blackwood began, stirring her beverage. "First, you will acknowledge humanity's right to exist as an independent power. Second, you will share all your technological and scientific knowledge freely with all species. The era of hoarding advancement ends today. Stone took over, his weathered face showing no triumph, only determination. Third, every species in your former confederation will be granted sovereignty. Your empire ends now. Each race will choose its own path forward. Finally, Nash concluded, reviewing data on her tablet, you will accept human oversight of all biological and chemical weapons research. We've seen how you handle them. We don't trust you with them. The gathered representatives of our former confederation sat in stunned silence. These terms weren't what anyone expected. Where was the demand for revenge? Where were the reparations? The punitive measures? You're wondering why we're being so lenient, Blackwood noted, reading our confusion. You're asking yourselves, what's the catch? That's exactly why we won this war. Stone nodded, placing a simple data chip on the table. This contains humanity's complete analysis of your civilization. Every weakness, every pressure point, every fatal flaw. We could dismantle your society so thoroughly it would never recover. But that's not who we choose to be. Despite what you might think, Nash added, humans don't actually enjoy warfare. We're good at it because we had to be. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. That's our nature. Looking around that room, I saw the moment when the truth finally dawned on my fellow representatives. We hadn't just been defeated militarily, we had been proven wrong philosophically. Our entire worldview had been based on the assumption that advancement meant superiority. Your civilization stagnated, Blackwood explained, because you believed you had reached the peak of evolution. Humans never believe that. We're always looking for the next horizon, the next challenge, the next way to improve. You built an empire, Stone continued. We built something far more powerful, a species that never stops adapting, never stops learning, never accepts any limit as final. The new Galactic Order they proposed was radical in its simplicity. No central authority, no enforced hierarchy, just open communication, free exchange of knowledge, and one absolute law: no species may prevent another from advancing. Think of it as enforced cooperation, Nash said with a slight smile. You're all going to learn to play nice together, or we'll have to show you more of what humanity can do when pushed. As I record this final testimony, 30 cycles have passed since that day. The galaxy has changed in ways none of us could have predicted. Former slave species now lead in technological innovation. Planets once stripped for resources have become centers of learning. And humanity. They did something none of us expected. They went back to Earth, back to their solar system, and continued preparing. When asked why, Commander Blackwood's answer sent chills through every species that heard it. Because you weren't the worst that's out there, she said. You were just the first. And next time we'll be ready for something worse. That's the truth about humans that we failed to understand. They never saw our invasion as the end. To them, it was just practice, another scenario to learn from, another challenge to overcome. To any civilization that finds this record, heed my warning. If you encounter humanity, remember these truths. Their entertainment isn't fiction, it's tactical analysis disguised as art. Their divisions aren't weakness, they're evolutionary pressure that breeds strength. Their persistence isn't stubbornness, it's the determination of a species that refuses to accept extinction as an option. Their mercy isn't weakness, it's the confidence of predators so secure in their strength they no longer need to prove it. Most importantly, remember this: humans don't want to rule the galaxy. They don't want to destroy other civilizations. They want something far more dangerous. They want everyone to be better. They'll force you to improve, to adapt, to overcome your limitations. And if you're foolish enough to threaten them, like we were, they won't just defeat you. They'll use your defeat to make themselves stronger. They'll learn from every mistake you make. They'll adapt to every weapon you use. They'll overcome every advantage you possess. Because that's what humans do. They learn. They adapt. They overcome. And they never, ever stop preparing for the next challenge. End recording. Admiral Klyxen. Former Supreme Commander, Galactic Confederation Fleet. Current Instructor, Human Military History. Earth War College, Mars Campus,